Straight ahead on Falcon Weekly.
The search continues. Still no sign of a missing Malaysian plane. Hear from the passengers' family members who say they want answers.
And breaking his silence, the father of the Sandy Hook massacre shooter opens up about his troubled son. Hear how the shooter still hunts him today.
And a gruesome discovery. See how one elderly Alabama woman was living with her dead husband's body for a month. Falcon Weekly starts now. Hello and welcome to Falcon Weekly. I'm Chloe Allen.
And I'm Rio Smith. Thanks so much for joining us.
Search crews are at a loss in the disappearance of Malaysia Flight 370. The jetliner and 239 people aboard vanished en route to Beijing from Malaysia early Saturday morning. The search area is being expanded while families are hoping that their loved ones will be found. Polo Sandoval has more on this mystery.
Investigators are puzzled. How could a plane packed with passengers disappear over the South China Sea? The key to what happened to Malaysia Flight 370 could be lost somewhere in the vast open ocean. A newly expanded search area includes a larger portion of the Gulf of Thailand between Malaysia and Vietnam.
If the plane broke apart midair, whether it be from an explosion or from something mechanical, losing control or losing a structural member, then you would expect to see a very wide debris field.
2 U.S. Navy warships now helping in the multinational search. They're trying to find answers for the families of 239 people on board. 3 Americans are among the missing. More than half were Chinese nationals.
I'm not going home until I know what happened. We've lost loved ones, and they need to answer our questions.
Adding to the mystery, investigators say 2 of the passengers were traveling with stolen passports, and both tickets were bought by an Iranian man in Thailand Thursday. This has raised concerns, but officials say so far they haven't found a link to terrorism.
Initially, we don't know about their nationality yet, but we gave orders for the police to investigate the passport user.
Officials quick to caution it's too early to arrive to any conclusion. Their priority now, finding any solid lead. In Washington, I'm Polo Sandoval reporting.
Officials say earlier reports of oil slicks and debris spotted in the water are not connected to this disappearance.
Now to an update on the crisis in Ukraine. The Crimean parliament is set to have a public vote on March 16th on plans to secede from Ukraine and join Russia. Today, supporters of the plan rallied in the streets, many of them waving Russian flags. Meanwhile, many world leaders are against the referendum, calling it a violation of Ukraine's constitution. In a recent interview with CNN, Arizona Senator John McCain says it does not represent a fair democratic process.
So if you see it as going forward now, the issues on the ground are going to stay the same. If they vote in Crimea that they want to go with Russia, and it is a valid public vote, isn't that us?
I can promise you they will vote.
But don't you have to honor it as democracy?
There won't be observers there. This is the old Hitler-Stalin routine.
It's a vote, but it's in quotes.
Oh, my, yeah, I mean, it cannot be valid. So, I promise you Vladimir Putin will not be thrown out of Crimea because of a vote.
Putin said Russia is within its rights to protect Russians who live in the former Soviet Republic. Meanwhile, a new poll shows 48% of Americans approve the Obama's administration of handling the crisis in Ukraine. The poll also shows 59% of the people who surveyed support economic sanctions against Russia. Obama's administration laid the groundwork for sanctions last week. However, another survey suggests Americans don't necessarily approve of the U.S. getting involved with foreign conflicts. About 70% says the U.S. should focus on safety here within our own borders.
The judge presiding over the murder trial of Oscar Pistorius, also known as the Blade Runner, has ordered a media blackout in the courtroom. The pathologist who performed the autopsy on Oscar Pistorius' girlfriend said any of the 3 injuries she sustained could have caused her death. Pistorius threw up as details Riva Steinkamp's injuries to her skull, chest, and arms were recounted in court. The judge has now banned both video and audio streaming of the testimony due to the graphic details of the autopsy. Pistorius does admit to shooting his girlfriend, thinking she was an intruder in his home. Peru says it will extradite the man suspected of the disappearance of Natalie Holloway back to the U.S., but there's a catch. Peru says it will send Joran Vandersloot back to the U.S. after he completes his 28-year prison sentence for murder. Vandersloot was the prime suspect in Holloway's disappearance in 2005 while on a trip to Aruba. U.S. officials plan to charge him with extorting money from Holloway's mother by providing false information. Vandersloot was convicted in Peru of murdering a woman in a hotel in Lima in 2012.
The man who shot in Harrison Park has been identified by the Birmingham police today as 23-year-old Timothy Austin of Birmingham. The Birmingham police encourage anyone who may have any information on the case to contact the Birmingham Police Department Homicide Unit at 205-252-1764. An elderly woman suffering from Alzheimer's was found living with a deceased husband who had been dead for weeks. Neighbors sent police to check on the couple Friday after not hearing from them. That's when officers made the gruesome discovery. Nick Lowe has the story.
Authorities say 78-year-old Doris Kirby is now getting treatment at the hospital after they found her living with her dead husband for the last month. The Kirbys lived at this house off Chestnut Street in Decatur. Police say Doris Kirby suffers from Alzheimer's disease and is in poor health.
It is sad.
Dean Hayes lives 2 doors down from the Kirbys. She's known the family for decades.
To think that all of us live right here this close and, none of us know anything about it.
Hayes says she had a bad feeling when she looked out her window on Friday.
Police cars was all up and down the road, and
she says the victim's son pulled up as an ambulance arrived. That's when he told her that officers found 75-year-old Jesse Kirby lying dead in his bed. The Morgan County coroner estimates he passed away about 4 weeks ago from natural causes.
It's been a pretty good while since I saw him.
Decatur police say foul play is not suspected.
That was Nick Law reporting. Officials say 2 dead dogs were also discovered on the property.
The father of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooter Adam Lanza speaks about his son for the first time. Peter Lanza talked to the media in an interview to appear in the New Yorker magazine. Susan Candioti reports.
Peter Lanza, the father of Sandy Hook shooter Adam Lanza, has broken his silence, saying, "With hindsight, I know Adam would have killed me in a heartbeat if he had the chance." In his first interview since the horrific shooting in Newtown, Connecticut nearly 15 months ago, Lanza tells the New Yorker magazine he has met with 2 families of his son's victims, saying, "A victim's family member told me that they forgave Adam after we spent 3 hours talking. I didn't even know how to respond."
20 little children. 6 adults.
Unimaginable horror grips the nation.
Police have now identified a school shooter as Adam Lanza.
Lanza says when he realized what happened, he called his wife at work, telling her over and over, "I think it's Adam. It's Adam." Lanza says he knew his son had problems, but he was difficult to treat. In his words, he did not want to talk about problems and didn't even admit he had Asperger's. Lanza also describes changes he saw in his son. It was crystal clear something was wrong. Asperger's makes people unusual, but it doesn't make people like this. Authorities later found that Adam had holed up in his room, windows covered by black garbage bags seen in these photos. Peter Lanza says as things got worse with his son, Adam's mother, Lanza's ex-wife Nancy, cared for him primarily. In his words, she wanted everyone to think everything was okay. He adds she didn't fear her son. She slept with her bedroom door unlocked, and she kept guns in the house, which she would not have done if she were frightened. These photos, released late last year by the Connecticut State Police, show an open gun locker, several firearms, and lots of ammunition inside the home. Peter Lanza says he is haunted by his son, dreaming about him nightly, detailing one nightmare, being hunted like one of his son's victims.
New security measures will be in place for this year's Boston Marathon. Law enforcement officials have been meeting to discuss security plans after last year's double bombing near the finish line. The attack killed 3 people and injured more than 260. This year, 3,500 police officers will line the route, and spectators are being asked to carry their belongings in clear plastic bags. Boston's EMA director, Kurt Swartz, says while the security plan is more comprehensive than last year's, it will still allow runners and spectators to have fun.
I want to reiterate as I close that although the safety and security plan this year is comprehensive, much more comprehensive than last year, and there will be a significant increase in the number of police officers and other public safety personnel deployed, we are confident that the overall experience of runners and spectators will not be impacted and that all will enjoy a fun, festive, family-oriented day.
The race is scheduled to take place on April 21st.
A small plane hits a skydiver, and both the pilot and the skydiver will live to tell the tale. Take a look at this. The plane's wings become entangled with the skydiver at a small airstrip near Tampa. A witness snapped these pictures as 49-year-old skydiver John Frost and the pilot of the Cessna, Sharon Tremblay, both crashed into the ground. Neither suffered any life-threatening injuries. Police are still investigating the incident.
UM's Flex Points program are about to get a lot more flexible. Find out when students will be able to use their Flex Points in downtown Montevallo.
And getting a better deal for your cell phone plan? See which major carrier is slashing prices for some of its customers' data plans. Those stories and more when Falcon Weekly returns. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. Exciting things are happening for UM students with a meal plan and Flex Points.
Falcon Weekly's Jordan Wells shows us how some Main Street stores and shops will soon allow UM students to use their Flex Points as a form of payment.
Soon, it might not be uncommon to see a student pay for an Eclipse milkshake with their Montevallo ID. By the end of the semester, the university hopes to allow students to use their Flex Points at participating restaurants on Main Street. As part of the opening contract with Chartwells, the university requested the dining provider bring the technology necessary to allow local businesses to accept Flex Points. Local restaurants will be given the opportunity to enroll in the program, and the university expects the system to be functional before this semester ends. For senior Julia Irwin, that means more options than just Moe's and the ability to support local businesses.
I'm very excited that we're going to have Flex Points on Main Street because I feel like it's a much better and effective use of our Flex dollars, especially for some people that don't like to eat in the caf a lot. And I think it's going to be a much better bridge to connect the gap between the university and the town of Montevallo itself.
This is the first step toward a one-card system that will allow Flex Points to be used for vending machines, groceries, and even services like a haircut. It's just another way Montevallo is bringing the university to Main Street. I'm Jordan Wells reporting for Falcon Weekly.
We wanted to find out what Montevallo students thought of this change, so we sent our man-on-the-street reporter Mandy Stedman around campus to get their reactions.
I think the Flex Points on Main Street is a really good idea because the subway is opened up down there, and since Moe's doesn't open up before 11 o'clock, then you can go down the subway and actually be able to get lunch before Moe's opens because the only other place to get lunch before then is the cafeteria.
I actually think it would be great because a lot of other universities do that kind of thing, and it's kind of time for Montevallo to catch up. If we want to keep growing, we've got to keep up with our competitors.
While many people are looking forward to St. Patrick's Day on the 17th, some folks here on campus are excited about this Friday, March 14th. Falcon Weekly's Matt Lord joins us in the newsroom to show us how UM's math department is celebrating Pi Week.
Thanks, Chloe. That's right. This is Pi Week, a whole week dedicated to the mathematical term pi. Folks around the world will celebrate Pi Week, which Dr. Michael Sterner says is really all about March 14th.
Today is National Pi Day is an event celebrated by mathematicians and non-mathematicians alike on the 14th of March because 14th of March is 314. Those are the first three digits of pi.
Here's the schedule of the events that will be held to celebrate this mathematical holiday. Tuesday, there will be the Math Grand Prix Scavenger Hunt at 3:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday, 2 alumni will be presenting on their experiences with grad school at 4 p.m. Then on Friday, a bake sale will be held from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m., followed by Pi a Student at 8:30 p.m. on Main Quad. Students may get a chance to buy some of their professors, and rumors say possibly even President Stewart.
Thanks, Matt. If you'd like more information about Pi Week, be sure to check your forum email.
See which food court staple is filing for bankruptcy for the second time in less than 3 years.
And there's a new breakthrough in Alzheimer's research. See why doctors say they may now be able to tell who will develop the illness. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly.
Wilbur Scott joins us now for a look at this week's consumer headlines. Hi, Scott.
Hi, guys. A common food court restaurant is filing for bankruptcy again. That's right. Pizza chain Sbarro is filing for bankruptcy for the second time in 3 years. Mainly found in mall food courts, the restaurant chain blames a lot of its losses to slow mall shopping. Higher food prices, labor, and rent have also contributed to its losses. To help cut losses, Sbarro said it would close about 40% of its companies owned in the U.S. locations. However, the bankruptcy will not affect any of its company's 600 franchises locations. AT&T is dropping wireless data prices for individual customers who have no annual service contracts. The number 2 U.S. mobile operation is attempting to compete with rival T-Mobile. Here's how it works. Customers with one smartphone and no annual service contract will now pay $65 a month instead of $80. That plan includes 2 gigabytes of wireless data, unlimited international messaging, and 50 gigs of cloud storage. And there's big news out of the banana industry today. Banana giant Chiquita and Ireland-based fruit supplier Fifes have announced a $1 billion merger. This will create the world's largest banana company, which will be called Chiquita Fifes. Combined, the two fruit giants have 32,000 employees and about $4.6 billion in annual revenue. The flexing warrior of the 300 sequel, Rise of an Empire, exploded at the box offices this weekend with a debut of $45 million. Internationally, it hauled in over $87 million. The film beat out the kid-friendly Mr. Peabody and Sherman, which came in second with $35 million. And that's a look at this week's consumer headlines.
Thanks, Scott. Switching gears to health news, the Alzheimer's disease is becoming America's third most deadly illness. Researchers have announced that have discovered a new blood test that can predict if a person will develop this debilitating illness at an earlier age.
Reporter Carla Zeus shows how this discovery may revolutionize early diagnostic procedures and possible new treatments.
It is estimated that as many as 5 million Americans may have Alzheimer's disease. The Alzheimer's Foundation of America also predicts that number will rise over the next decade because people are living longer. As of now, there is no cure. Now researchers led by a team from Georgetown Medical Center have developed a blood test that they say can predict with greater than 90% accuracy if a healthy person will develop Alzheimer's disease within 3 years. If confirmed, the study, which appears in next month's issue of Nature Medicine, is the first to unveil a blood-based test for diagnosing Alzheimer's in its earlier stages. Not only would people be able to know if they will develop the illness, the test could be used to design new treatments for the disease.
The test enables the identification of the high-risk people. You could then do the research to ask, do we now have a new therapy that could arise that could delay symptom onset?
The test identifies 10 lipids or fats in the blood that could predict disease onset. It could be ready for use in clinical trials in a few years. For today's Health Minute, I'm Carl Azus.
Alzheimer's ranks third behind heart disease and cancer as the most common deadliest illnesses in the United States.
Now it's time for a check of our Montevallo forecast.
Falcon Weekly's Madison Ambush joins us with the looks at this week's weather.
Hi guys! Hey! It's starting to feel more like springtime rather than the winter weather we've had. Let's take a look at the forecast. This graphic is from the National Weather Service. Today we're looking at a warm, sunny day, but still some clouds. The highs are in the mid-60s to mid-70s, and the low is 50 degrees. Let's look at the rest of this week's forecast. Tomorrow, the high is 75 and the low is 58 with a chance of rain. On Wednesday, there's a chance of rain and the high will be 63 and the low is 30. The rain will clear up at night and there will be heavy winds. On Thursday, you'll see the sun shining with a high of 54 and low of 32. There will be a slight chance of rain for the weekend. Friday, the high is 64 and the low is 45. On Saturday, the high is 64 and the low 47. And on Sunday, the high is 67 and the low 43. That's a look at this week's weather. Now back to you guys.
Thanks, Madison.
Falcon Weekly's Tom Davis joins us with a look ahead to sports. What you got for this week, Tom?
It was a big weekend for UN's men's basketball coach. See what records Coach Young set at the Peach Belt Conference tournament this weekend. Plus, I'll give you details about the upcoming Division II basketball tournament. Sports is next. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. I'm Tom Davis with a look at this week's sports. UN's men's head basketball coach Danny Young recorded his 300th career win this weekend as the Falcons competed in the Peach Belt Conference tournament. Young picked up his 300th win as he guided the Falcons to an 85-80 victory over the Francis Marion Patriots in the quarterfinals of the tournament. Then on Saturday, Young picked up his 250th win as the head coach of the Falcons with that 96-87 double overtime win over GRU Augusta. The Falcons finished runners-up in the tournament, losing to the USC Aiken Pacers 61-59 in the title game. The Falcons will continue their season this weekend in the Division II National Tournament. This will be the 5th consecutive year Coach Young takes his team into the tournament. The number 1 ranked team in the Southeast region, USC Aiken, will host the tournament. The Falcons, who finished 3rd in the region, will face the number 1 6th seed Georgia Southwestern this Saturday. The two teams split a pair of regular season meetings. The Falcons have advanced to the NCAA Division II men's basketball tournament 9 times in the program's history, owning an 18-8 all-time record in the tournament. Basketball, basketball, and more basketball. People will soon be filling out their brackets as March Madness approaches us in just over a week. With Division I basketball teams still to compete in conference tournaments and to earn their bid into the national tournament, people will be looking closely at what team will play who in the first round, scheduled for March 18th. March Madness is guaranteed to produce upsets and a run from a lower-ranked team, all leading up to the national final on April 7th. This year, picking a perfect bracket could earn you a payout of $1 billion. Quicken Loans and Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway are teaming up for the free online bracket contest to people 21 and over. The 20 most accurate yet imperfect brackets will be awarded $100,000 to be used for buying a home or remodeling a home. Contestants have until March 18th to complete the bracket, and the odds of picking up a perfect bracket for the tournament about 1 in 128 billion. And that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Tom. The Kansas City Spelling Bee took more than 90 rounds, 2 days and 2-week break, and now finally has a winner. 5th grader Sophia Hoffman stumbled on the word stifling, and 7th grader Kush Sharma ended up taking home the win. The two competitors met February 22nd at the Kansas City Public Library for the regularly scheduled competition, but exhausted all the words on the judges' list. A tie wasn't allowed, so the two met up Saturday for a spell-off.
The 2 weeks that we've had, I mean, we just become really good friends, and I was sort of like I was getting pretty sad when she got that word incorrect.
Sharma now heads to Washington, where he will join more than 280 other qualifiers in the 2014 Scripps National Spelling Bee.
I mean, wow, 90 rounds.
I know.
90 rounds.
I would just give up.
Is there even that many words in the English dictionary, really?
Well, apparently there is.
I guess so.
That's all the time we have for this week's show. Thank you so much again for joining us.
For more news, be sure to check out the Falcon News Network blog. The web address is on your screen. We'll see you again next week.